Okay, so what I want to try to do, and we'll see how it works, is to show off some Quasar stuff briefly and just sort of answer some of the questions that I get a lot about these things. So we have the new Quasar panel, as well as some of the tubes. Yeah, so if you have any questions, hit me up. And otherwise, I'm just going to try to briefly run through some stuff. So this is a little tricky because I don't have like a camera person other than me. Basically, this is the back of the big panel. It has a standard Kino lollipop type deal on it. Let me punch this aperture guy up a little. Remote controlled lights, they're magic. Now I have to worry about how I lit myself. Anyway, let's bring this guy right over here. And I'm definitely overexposed. There we go, that's a little better. So, this guy has like a standard Kino lollipop in the back of it. All the electronics are inside this box. Low power draw, flat LED panel, has a Kelvin switch for daylight or tungsten. So in this version you can't dial between the two, but you can choose daylight or tungsten. Let me know how the audio sounds, by the way. This is my first time trying a lav with this. But yeah, daylight or tungsten, and then just a power on off switch here. It's powered by a regular PowerCon cable. Blam. Just a locking Nutric jack dealio, which pops right into here. And then the other end just goes right into an outlet. And there's nothing else in the middle as far as like ballasts or anything. It's just a regular cable, so you don't have to fight the 20 boxes hanging off your light problem. Okay, so you plug it in on that end, and it's just plugged into a regular outlet. Let me see the best way to spin this guy around. Okay, cool. Tight office, always fun. Let me boom up on this guy a little. Audio sounds awesome. Thanks, guys. Oof. This is why you need a gaffer for these kinds of videos. Then we'll punch it on. And we have a big old soft light. Let's kill the aperture. And as you can see, we're somewhat destroying myself output wise. So we'll try to stop down a bit. Put me back inside this thing. And we've now got a big 2 foot by 4 foot soft key, which we can use as a key, or we can use it as a fill, or whatever we want. But that's basically the moral of these things. What's up, Cameron? So it's a super simple piece of gear. And I should sandbag this stand, but I'm not going to. Nothing really fancy. It's just a big piece of light, you know? So instead of having to run something through like a big piece of silk or other diffusion, you can just take this guy, put it upright like this, and you have a big soft source. If I can find the switch on the back here, we can switch it to tungsten mode, and we have tungsten light. So that's sort of, in my mind, the only real downside is that you can't be more specific with color temperatures than that. But it's a solvable problem, you know, it's not that big a deal. So this is full output right now. The camera is at a f8 at 50th shutter at ISO 800, and this is about how much light we're getting off of it. So that's the output. These things are 750 bucks, and you can line dim it just like a regular Quasar. So where'd my little aperture remote go? Oh, here it is. Put the aperture back on. And we will take a little dimmer. Where'd I put all my little dimmers? Sorry guys, I just was holding one. Oh, I put it under here. I have a grip bin that's just full of dimmers and stingers and stuff. The lack of LED bulb shadows is nice. Yeah, so the way this actually works, is that I believe the LEDs are all around the edge actually and filling into the middle, and then this is like a big diffusion panel, and so you just get a super even thing. You know, there's no hot spots on this. Sorry, it's hard to turn without tipping a little, but it's super consistent output, and so you don't have to deal with soft boxes or anything like that. So we take a regular dimmer, we can throw it on this guy just like a regular Quasar tube, and we can pop the dimmer into the plug, kill the light, plug the light back in, and now we have a dimmable light just using the hand squeezer, dimmer, whatever your preferred nomenclature is. So yeah, they're fully dimmable. Doesn't have a built-in dimmer on this version. I wouldn't call it heavy. It's not light. It's, you know, it's a pretty big thing, but I have been told that the production version will be lighter than this one. So I would consider it entirely reasonable. You know, you're not gonna like gaff it to a ceiling, but it's not like 100 pounds or anything. So these are really cool. I'm really excited to shoot more stuff with this guy. So we'll leave him over here and hope I don't accidentally tip him over. Now, where did I just put my 2-foot tube? Boop-a-doop-a-doo. 2-foot tube. Here we go. So, what most people recognize as Quasars and ask about all the time are crossfade tubes. How's the weight compared to a 20K? And it's not flimsy. You could... I mean, it's like metal around the edges. It's heavier than a light mat, I think, but I haven't used light mats that often, to be honest. So this is a regular Quasar crossfade tube. This is a 2-foot tube. And so the 4-foots are the same thing, only longer, 6-foot, 8-foot, whatever size you want. And on one end here, it has a little knob that allows you to control color temperature. And on the other end, it just has a plug, and you plug it in with one of these guys. And this is the whole thing. People ask all the time, like, oh, what about ballast? What else do you need for it? This is the whole, all the bits and bobs you need is just this tube and a plug. And yes, the 2-foot tubes fit in a tripod bag. They're tiny. So that's why these things are so great, is because you can stick them just about anywhere. And so if you're just looking to throw lights around, they're super easy. You know, you don't need to do crazy rigging with them. And they go wherever you need them to. So let me grab a stinger real quick from my Mary Poppins floor. And let's plug one of these guys in. So what's great about them is they're cheap. They are bright. They have really good color rendition, and they're super simple. So let's kill the LS1/2 and let's kill this guy. How do you hide the cables when you're using them as practicals? That's a good question. There we go. So now it's dark. It's just my lamp up there. Plug this guy in, and it'll immediately pop on. And we just have this little lightsabery tube of light. So let's kick it over to tungsten, since we have a tungsten practical. And, you know, depending on what you're using it for, the 2-foot one isn't huge, so it's not going to be super soft to use as like a key, but you can stick this thing just about anywhere. And so you can rig it to a stand a bunch of different ways, but you can just gaff them to stuff. Like we were shooting some stuff for the NFL draft, and we were just gaffing them to locker room lockers and stuff, or gaff it to a grip arm, stick it in a grip head, sort of put it wherever you need to. And so they're really easy to just punch around. You know, I was on a shoot with a DP recently who used them, just sort of like putting them on the floor and shooting them into walls as big soft sources. Yeah, you either hide them with set designer. I saw someone on the Facebook group recently just actually took them out in post. They just ran cables up the wall. But yeah, like anything else, you just have to be sneaky about it. And these are also dimmable the same way. So if you take just a regular hand dimmer, let's flip this sucker back on. Oh, this is starting to look cool. So this is just a regular like tungsten dimmer. Throw it on the line. You can put it at either end of your stinger depending on what's convenient. And you just plug the light into that. And you now have a dimmable Quasar. So it's sort of hard to tell. And so the one note is that depending on the exact dimmers you're using, cheaper dimmers, once you get down to like 20% output, start to suck, and so they might cut out. Like this one's really dim right now, but you sort of have to fiddle with it sometimes. And there are better dimmers, which you can look into, which do a much better job of controlling power output to these guys. But you can throw cheap household dimmers on them and they work fine. Another thing that I learned when I went to NAB that I thought was really interesting that Stephen Strong said is that the way these are set up, there's no output drop when you switch color temperatures. You know, some LED lights are brightest at like 4,300 Kelvin or something, because at 36 or 52, they're only using half the LEDs. But the way these guys work, they're consistently bright all the way through, except for they're just a tiny bit brighter at full daylight, just because daylight LEDs are brighter. I do not know exactly when the RGB ones are coming, but it's in the future at some point. I'm not privy to the exact shipping dates or anything. But that's pretty much it. And so that's where like people ask about these things all the time, and it's like this is all there is to it. There's not a whole lot of magic or any special tricks. It's just, you know, you start using them and seeing the ideas for them and the ability to put them anywhere so easily, and it's great. You know, you can put them in Kino housings, you can put them on ceilings, you can put them anywhere you want. They're really light and they're really durable. That's another thing people ask about. They're not like Kino tubes where they're like glass. These things are like durable plastic, and so that's why you can like grip them to stuff and not have any issues. I'm gonna re-expose myself a little again here. Yeah, I don't know. I get asked all the time just these sorts of questions. And so I wanted to do a quick thing just sort of talking about it, answering the questions people have. Hopefully this answers those. But you should check these out. They're fantastic, and they're honestly about the best cheap light you can buy. And they get used even on big sets and big projects as well. But when the 4-foots are like $275 or whatever it is, it's really hard to beat them exposed. So yeah, that was sort of my overall thought on this. I don't know if anyone has any other questions about quasars that they would want answered. It's a big quasar logo. Are there different sizes, and can you cover the output again and power draw? Different sizes, I mean, they have a couple different tubes. So these are the crossfades, which means you can dial the color temperature. There's one called the switch that's the same tube, but it just goes between like tungsten and daylight. Then they have T8 bulbs, which are skinnier and can like fit into practicals and stuff, but I think they're all single color temp. And the power, let's see what it says on the back of it, 25 watt for this 2-foot tube. And they have, I believe, 1-foot, 2-foot, 4-foot, 6-foot, and 8-foot tubes, depending on how long you want it to be. Output wise, I don't have like a meter on me, honestly. Which would probably be a good thing to have around, but I tend to not think in metered numbers. Let me plug it back in real quick and I can run you through what we're getting off of it. It's easier to just kill the dimmer. Can you beat the tube on something to show us how durable it is? I have a pretty hard noggin. It's pretty durable. I don't know what else you would like me to beat. So let's take this, let's kill, the aperture's already dead, kill the panel. And so camera right now is at a 5.6 at ISO 800, 50th of a second. And this is with the tube at an arm's length from me. You know, that's pretty much where we're exposed skin tones wise. And then I knocked the cable out, beating it on the desk. There we go. But yeah, so it's pretty, I mean, it's a decent chunk of output, and you consider a 4-foot is significantly brighter. I do have another video where you can see sort of how it metered up against a few other things, which I'll probably do a follow-up to that, metered at slightly further distances so it's more consistent. But they're pretty bright. You know, I think most of us have a camera that does at least ISO 800 and lenses that do at least a 5.6. So this should be punching, you know, what you need, and you can even sort of, you know, throw it into a wall and then go to probably like a 2.8 and this is sort of shooting into the corner of my wall, and it's keying at a decent level. So yeah, they're pretty bright. They're cheap. They're super simple. People overestimate how complicated they are. They're really simple. It's just a plugs in and it works sort of thing. So thank you guys for watching this. Continuing to learn how to make these better. Unfortunately, my C100 and the Amira are out of commission right now. And by out of commission, I just mean with other people. So we're doing this with my 6D. And yeah, black wrap works, or sometimes even what I'll just do is take black gaff, like the wider black gaff, and put it down the length of the side here, and just make it into a little barn door, basically. I think the 4 feet are worth it because they're way softer, and I have no clue what the prices of the RGBs are going to be. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely flag these and stuff too. Favorite Quasar lighting tip is probably, you can buy them a bunch of places. My experience has been that the fastest place to get them, unless your local place has them in stock, is direct from Quasar. Otherwise, like I think TLCI of the tubes, I don't know off the top of my head. You guys have a bunch of very technical questions. I don't really pay too much attention intently to like exact ratings of various things, which is just the way that I work, but it's like I know, you know, that they play color the way that I want them to, and so regardless of what the rating is, I'm content with them. But you can buy them direct from Quasar. We should have another discount for them in June, I think, which will be applicable to all the dealers and stuff as well, but we're still working out details on that. So no promises, so if you just need one now, you might want to just get one now. But direct to them, I think Barbizon has them as well. Color temp range on the crossfade goes from 2000 to 6000 Kelvin. I think that's pretty much it for me. We'll do this again soon. Do it with a second camera. Do it with someone controlling the camera so that I'm not back and forth so much. And I'll probably plan out what I'm doing a little better instead of just kind of figuring it out as I go. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks. Bye.